Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. A whole nother week has gone by. Kind of in the middle of the month. Cannot wait. Good things. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Courtesy Call, the podcast where I rant about politics, world affairs, and societal issues. I am your host, Scott Perry, and it is Sunday, January 16th, 2022. January 6th was 10 days ago. Insurrection, hello. It is Sunday, January 16th, 2022. And about halfway through the month, right? We're about halfway through the month of January. Still into winter, and boy, do we know it's winter up here in New England. It's been blistering cold lately. I know last night I was out and about running errands. I had a few commitments and meetings and stuff, and I was just like, damn, it is extremely cold. It was like 1 degree, I think. I think at some point it went like a couple degrees below zero at some point in some areas of the state of New Hampshire. So I was going to clean my car out at one point, and then I just said, screw this. It is what the heck out there, so I'm not doing it until it warms up a little bit. But yes, it is a cold New England weekend here in the state of New Hampshire and Massachusetts. I think the rest of New England. So anyway, hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. Hope you guys are having some fun out there. Let's see. Some of you, it's a 3-day weekend this weekend, right? Tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day. All day. So, of course, at least some of you are going to take some sort of awareness on that and respect what Dr. Martin Luther King did for equality. He was an activist for racial rights and protested against racism and educated people on equality, did the march, and of course made some very infamous speeches and was one of the biggest powerhouse in racial equality today. So, I mean, we have him to thank for today's equality. Even though a lot of people insist racism still exists, I agree racism still exists today, but not as much as it was back in the 50s and 60s. You can't tell me that today's racism is just as bad. Back in the 50s and 60s, the bathrooms were segregated. Certain schools, black people, those of color could only go to certain schools, certain bathrooms, sit in a certain line, or stand in a certain line for things. There was segregation. And plus, there was a lot of whippings, a lot of beatings, police brutality. Still happens today, but not as much as in the 50s and 60s. Racial equality has came a long way over the past 60, 70 years. Okay, it has. And you can't deny that. You can't deny that because I firmly believe that we've become better. We still have things we need to work on. We have a lot of things we need to work on, right? But thanks to Dr. Martin Luther King, he made racism diminish and be very minute today than what it was back then. So. But yes, you guys can pay your respects to Dr. Martin Luther King tomorrow, anytime of the year, but especially on the holiday or the day that we celebrate him and what he did. You can check out online. You check out the web. You can check out some ceremonies. See if there's any ceremonies around or any events going on that were for that. I don't know if they're going to continue. I don't know if they're going to be or there is. At the moment, because of COVID, I'm not sure if they're holding any of those. I mean, if they are, maybe they can always social distance. Any event you hold, you can social distance. But I imagine if there are some ceremonies out there, there will be some social distancing. So be prepared for that, and probably wearing a mask and sanitation and all that stuff. Make sure you put on some sanitizer, wash your hands, and all that good stuff. Good hygiene, good health and safety practices and stuff there. But check out and see if there's a ceremony to attend. To celebrate Martin Luther King Day tomorrow. So look them up on the web. So, all right, well, I'm a little fired up. Because there's been quite some material in today's headlines that have kind of poked me a bit. Some things that have moved me a little bit and got me a little aggressively rambunctious, I guess. Kind of oxymoronish, but something that kind of got me a little stirred up, a little upset. So, as I could say, pissed off a little bit. All right, so as you know, we talk about COVID all the time, right? And in the past episodes, I give you the latest numbers, the latest updates on number of cases versus number of vaccines. Then I go into my thoughts of COVID. I tell you to stay safe, health and safety protocols. I tell you to stay safe out there and do the right thing, including getting vaccinated. Well, for many of you who have paid attention to the headlines as of late, know that President Biden, our wonderful president, who issued out a mandate for large companies to mandate their employees to be vaccinated or provide a weekly negative test, for the work environment to make sure everybody's vaccinated or at least doing what they need to do to keep the environment safe. That mandate got blocked by none other than the Supreme Court. That's right. The Supreme Court blocked Biden's vaccine mandate for the mandatory, like I said, for large companies who, to make sure that their employees are vaccinated and the work environment is safe. And I'm just like, okay. I kind of, a little irked about it. And, So according to on CNBC.com on their website, they have an article about it, and it's a Supreme Court blocks Biden's COVID vaccine mandate for businesses, allows healthcare worker rule. And below that, it says, last Thursday, Supreme Court on Thursday blocked the Biden administration from enforcing its sweeping vaccine or test requirements for large private companies, but allowed a vaccine mandate to stand for medical facilities that take Medicare or Medicaid payments. The rulings came 3 days after the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, known as OSHA, emergency measure for businesses started to take effect. The mandate required that workers at businesses with 100 or more employees get vaccinated or, like I said, submit a negative COVID test weekly to enter the workplace. It also required unvaccinated workers to wear masks indoors at work. And there's a quote here that says, although Congress has indisputably given OSHA the power to regulate occupational dangers, it has not given the agency the power to regulate public health more broadly, what the court wrote in unsigned opinion. Well, here's my opinion, okay? Should you push people to, to do the right thing these days? Or should you force people at all? Let's go with that one. Should we force anybody to do anything at all? Overall, no. In a sense, no, we shouldn't. But in today's society, yes, people have the right to choose and should not be forced to do certain things. But my opinion, today's society is full of a lot of people who are not making smart decisions. We have a lot of not so smart people out there. We have these kinds of people that are kind of idiotic, that display a large amount of idiocy, known as morons. And you can't rely on people to do the right thing these days. People believe in conspiracy theories, believe in all this hogwash being hawked at them. Like, the JFK's coming back, and then JFK Jr.'s coming back, and he's in the body of the Rolling Stones, in concert, and blah, blah, blah. You got people like that who are who are solidly believing this kind of stuff that are refusing to do the right thing. How are you supposed to, move people like that? You can't. You can't convince anybody like that. You can't get through to them. They would have to have some sort of sense, and they're just blinded in all this trash that's out there. So I think at this point, you should be forcing people to do the right thing. You should. And I know people are just like, well, that's just not right. Well, it's not right. Knowingly transmitting COVID to people who just can't afford to be, to get it. Even though the last episode I did say that I believe everybody should get COVID for immunity purposes, but not when it's like being deliberately to harm. You know, if you know someone who's autoimmune compromised and they have other kind of, processes or other kind of like, sources that they want to go through or steps they want to take first before going to a vaccine or before accepting or bringing COVID or being open to possibly potentially catching COVID, then you should, and it's very highly rude and inappropriate to go there and just transmit it to them. You just go there and transmit it to them. So it's just really all about people trying to stay safe themselves. Now, people like, okay, what does someone else being vaccinated have anything to do with me? Because the vaccine is to help protect you, not other people. It's to protect you. And that's true. Absolutely. I've said that a bunch of times on the show, on this podcast. So, and in many episodes. So I think that I would say you would have to definitely consider the fact that if you get sick, right? If you're not vaccinated and you get this thing, you get you get the virus, right? And you get very, very sick. You have to go home, right? You have to be in the hospital, go see the doctor. You're not going to be able to work. And you not being in the work environment, you not being there is going to add more weight to your fellow coworkers because all that work gets pushed. There's a lot of jobs out there. A lot of jobs out there that if there's some people missing or absent and there's work need to be done, that gets pushed on to the other colleagues, their other employees. So you're essentially making your fellow colleagues suffer when you're out of work and you have no and there's you have no way of to catch up on some things, right? So it's very inconsiderate to call out or to not get vaccinated, risk getting sick and being out of work and pushing all that work onto your fellow coworkers. That adds more stress, which they slow down because they're overworked and they cause issues because they're not picking up the slack. And before you know it, the business is bombarded and drowning in work. So that's why I feel that those who are not getting vaccinated out there are being very selfish. Okay. Needless to say, if you have to be in the hospital, I definitely think that your family, think about your family. They're missing out on you and they go visit you in the hospital all the time, or almost every day until you're better and get it, discharged and stuff. But until then, they have to keep visiting and they should be able to because they're your family and they love you. But it's just, you got to think like that. You put a lot of hurt on your family when you do that. And when you do like that, and being vaccinated would prevent that, but you choose not to. So it's a selfish move, really, to not get vaccinated. So I think in this sense, where people are just so they are so stupid, and they really don't want to do the right thing. They refuse to do the right thing. That you should be able to force them to get vaccinated. So, OSHA, okay, like I said, they stand for the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. They're supposed to protect the work environment, secure it, not enable it for failure, right? They're supposed to look out for people's safety. How are you protecting people's safety by, ruling with going with the or the Supreme Court not going over and looking at OSHA's kind of like their own policies and such. How is OSHA protecting people if they're allowing the virus just to roam around? Supreme Court, how is that? That's kind of against to what OSHA's purpose is, don't you think? Like I said, their purpose is to make sure that the work environment is safe and healthy. And by ruling with the Supreme Court, essentially, to turn down the vaccine mandates, they're essentially allowing a flood of people to spread the virus around more or to get sick and end up being out of work for a week or two, which adds stress. So it's against their standards. I guess you can do that. Ugh. This is Frustrating. So, I'll talk more about COVID-19 and vaccinations. I'll talk about that later in the episode when I give you the latest numbers on the number of cases versus number of vaccinations. But until then, before I get too riled up, moving on. In other news, for pure justice, actual news I agree with, Oath Keepers leader Stuart Rhodes was arrested this past week for the, he was arrested and I think he was charged for the January 6th insurrection. Speaking of January 6th. And he was charged with seditious conspiracy. Seditious conspiracy. It says here, according to CBS, NBC, what's this? According to NBC News, an article they have on their website, it says, in Washington, it says, Elmer Stuart Rhodes, founder of the far-right militia group, the Oath Keepers, has been indicted and arrested over his organization's alleged involvement in the planning of the January 6th attack. Rhodes, 56, is being charged for the first time in a connection to events leading up to and on January 6th. According to a statement Thursday from the Justice Department, an additional 10 people, including 9 others who already face separate charges in connection to the riot, were also indicted. Rhodes and the 10 other individuals were charged with seditious conspiracy and other charges for crimes related to the breach of the Capitol on January 6th, said the DOJ, Department of Justice. It says defendants conspired in a variety of ways, including organizing into teams that were prepared and willing to use force and to transport firearms and ammunition into Washington, D.C., the DOJ said, citing the indictment. So, yeah, for those out there who are just still denying January 6th even happened, are not even going to want to pay attention to what I have to say about this. This guy, I mean, the Oath Keepers, first of all, these militia groups, I don't think people understand what actual militia group is for. Okay, it's used as a localized military put on by citizens. It's a military. It's put together by citizens to help defend their country. Is what initially what militia, the purpose of militia is. The purpose of a militia, the main purpose is for citizens to form a small military group to protect their country, not overthrow their government. And if it ever was a secondary purpose for militia to overthrow their government, it's when the government's actually doing something completely wrong, like completely against everyone's rights. The big lie, was that the election was stolen, and it was rigged, there were ballots that weren't counted, or rigged, or fudged, or yada yada, and several states cheated the election, and the election was rigged. That's the big lie, right? Is what charged this whole thing. So, head hurts. First of all, okay, I obviously knew that there's no evidence of such thing. There was no evidence of any fraud, any fudging of the ballots, or any, mishandling of the ballots, or states cheating. There was nothing. Even the voting system. The voting system, Dominion. There we go, Dominion. They even testified and said that their machines were flawless. They were perfect. There was no issues with their machines. So there was no voter fraud. Even the FBI and CIA looked into it. Zero fraud. There's a huge investigation, not just by, Rudy and the former guy's, ignorant posse, but it was, there was a big investigation conducted by the FBI and CIA. No voter fraud was found, and it was held up in several courts. Several courts held the case, and there was no voter fraud. So you're basically causing an insurrection over a big lie is what it is. Over nothing, over false beliefs or false beliefs that the election was stolen. So that doesn't call for a militia to overthrow the government. If there's a secondary purpose for a militia to overthrow their government, it's when the government's actually doing something wrong. And there was no evidence that the government was doing anything wrong. There was an accusation that, like I said, that the election was rigged and that they were bringing in a leader that nobody else wanted, that's not true. All the ballots were authenticated and were pretty accurate. Remember, so there was no voter fraud. Zero. Even unbiased folks and those who are neutral parties said that there was no election fraud. And even his own colleagues in the Republican Party, those in the Republican branch, the Republican Party, even said there was no voter fraud. There was a lot of them that said that. Even like Lindsey Graham, I think, said, it's like, this is stupid. And I can't believe you're saying there was voter fraud. But yeah, that's the purpose of a militia, is if the government, let's say there was voter fraud and they were moving on, with the newly picked president, supposedly, then I would understand that a little bit more. Or if they were like trying to take away our rights, actually take away our rights, or if they were using strong coercive behavior, or if they were taking it total like Hunger Games style, or like all these movies we've seen lately, where they raid into your house and start like, causing harm to their own people, like some third world countries do. If that was to happen, I could understand a militia. Excuse me. Not rounding up a group of idiots that believe in false conspiracy theories to attack their Capitol building, hurt people, kill people, and destroy property. That's not what a militia is for. So, yeah, they were essentially a group of terrorists. And they committed damages and crimes. And I'm glad he was indicted and found guilty and is being held accountable, because you don't pull that if you don't want to be held accountable. So, plain and simple. Plain and simple. All right, moving on. Speaking of the January 6th insurrection, so how many of you listen to the radio station 107.7? Right, FM. It'll be FM. 107.7. Anybody listen to that? So, it's just by listening to it for a little bit, I can tell right off the bat it is favoring the far right Republican Party. And there's a lot of wingnuts on there. Listening to it the other day because I was just interested to see what the other party says. Because, being a centrist, you naturally want to do that. But also running a political podcast show, you want to do the same thing. You want to make sure you get all the facets, right? Because that's what fair is. Not that the Republican Party would understand that. Not much, a majority of the Republican Party would understand that. But, yeah, still. But listening to 107.7... there was a female, I forget her name. I should have jotted down her name. I don't know why I didn't. A right-wing nut complaining, it was a host on the show, complaining that CNN was reporting about the January 6th insurrection. She was complaining. She wanted to defend the virus, which I understand that. She wanted to... she was stating some factual information about the vaccine or about the virus and such. Like, this Omicron variant is very, very weak, and most of the variants are, except for Delta, strong. But the vaccines will overcome it and deal with it. If you're fully vaccinated, it'll handle it well, and whatever whatnot. And then she goes into talking about that. Then she stated some false information about the virus, and then about the vaccine stuff, and then about the Biden administration. And then she goes into complaining that CNN was talking about the January 6th insurrection as if it was nothing and they shouldn't be reporting nothing. And I just say, excuse me, but January 6th, whoever denies that January 6th, states that January 6th was not a big deal, that claims it wasn't a big deal and it was nothing, as obviously blind as you can be and ignorant as you can be. You would have to be a complete fool. I mean, just watch the video. I don't have to explain it. Just watch the video. Damaging property, like I said, hurting people, killing people, destroying democracy, and hurting and damaging our capital, and causing a terrorist act, essentially. A terrorist act. And you want to look at that and say that it's nothing? Or like they're reporting January 6th. What else are they going to report? There's nothing else to report. That's a big thing to report because it's technically the anniversary of that. And it's such a big issue. There needs to be there's still an investigation undergoing to get those who were accountable, to get as many as they can who are involved, to hold as many as they can accountable for it. Because, this kind of action is very inexcusable. It would be one thing if they threw a couple of bottles at the Capitol building, broke a couple of windows, and took a couple that would be one thing. It's still kind of a douchey thing to do, but I mean, it wouldn't be as serious as people didn't get hurt or killed, and the democracy wasn't damaged, and there was a lot of viable things and part of our Capitol building being destroyed or being damaged. That is our Capitol building. That is our country, and essentially you're damaging it. You're damaging it. So it's obviously a big event. It's a big issue. It's a big issue, and I know. How dare CNN report big issues and issues that actually matter, and not things that we already know, So, all right. I'm done with that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to share more headlines. And, of course, updates on COVID-19, the vaccinations, as well as a headhunt segment, and 2 societal topics of my choice. Still a lot to come here on Courtesy Call.
Does your plug-in fade too fast? Try new Febreze Fade Defy Plug. It has built-in technology to digitally control how much scent is released to smell first day fresh for 50 days. La 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 la.
Subarus are made for winter with symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive, so you can help your friend when they break down in the middle of nowhere. Kelley Blue Book's most trusted brand. That's a Subaru.
Morning. Can I have a coffee, please?
We can do better than that. How about an acorn spiced latte?
No, thanks.
What about a nitro charcoal brew with dry ice?
Oh, no.
The charcoal purifies the soul.
Just a regular coffee is fine. Thank you.
Okay. Let's talk milks. We got okra milk, we have sloth milk, and then we have fresh unicorn milk. Only $12 extra. Isn't that right, Caliber?
Whoa. I'll just do half and half. And my coffee?
Okay, but first, Fomart.
Oh.
Ta-da!
Okay, you know what? This is ridiculous. I just want a coffee. I'm sorry.
Why does everyone leave us?
Every morning, I thought I had to make a choice. Do I use a toothpaste that whitens my teeth or one that's good for my teeth? Now I don't have to choose. My dentist told me about Crest Whitening Therapy, so I tried it.
From Crest 3D White comes whitening therapy. It's our best whitening technology. Plus, it has a fortifying formula to protect your enamel.
Now I get a whiter smile and healthy teeth all in one.
The 3D White collection from Crest. Healthy, beautiful smiles for life.
Oh, just one.
Jake from State Farm, it's the least I can do. You really did me a solid with that, Maya markdown on my insurance.
Here's the deal, Maya. State Farm offers everyone surprisingly great rates.
Right.
No, really, there are no markdowns, just great rates.
Pull around back in 20 minutes. I'll hook you up with the good parts.
When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Welcome back, everyone, to Courtesy Call Podcast here on IPMNation.com. For those who are just joining us before the break, I kind of shared some issues going on in the headlines, including the Biden administration's vaccine mandate for large companies being turned down by the Supreme Court, and OSHA which is the Occupation of Safety and Health Administration, has chose to side with the Supreme Court. And I shared my 2 cents worth about that. Also, I talked about the leader of the Oath Keepers, conspiracy right-wing militia group, the Oath Keepers. The leader was indicted this past week and charged with seditious conspiracy and actions. So I shared my thoughts about that if you create a big riot and destroy our democracy and create what January 6th was, in fact, an insurrection, you deserve to be held legally accountable. Also talked about a 107.7 FM show host, some female show host, getting mad at CNN for broadcasting and talking about January 6th as if it was no big deal. And I shared the fact that it was a big deal. So that's what was talked about. If you have any questions or comments about anything that's been discussed on this episode or previous episodes, feel free to hit us up on both our Facebook and Twitter accounts, which our Facebook is facebook.com/courtesy call podcast, and our Twitter is @courtesy call for you. That is the @ symbol, courtesy call, the number 4, and an uppercase letter U. Let me know what you think. Any comments, any questions, I'll round them up this upcoming week, and we'll address them on next week's episode, which will be episode 47, which will air next Sunday, January 23rd, 2022. So at 10 a.m. here on 9pmnation.com. All right. So for those who have listened to many of these episodes, know what comes next. This is a point in the show where I plug local businesses who didn't have an ad available to make it through the rotation during the commercial break, or were affected by the pandemic and could use your help. Use your support. So without further ado, here we go. Moe's Italian Sandwiches, making the original since 1959, with locations all over the Granite State, including one in Dover, one in Portsmouth, and one here in Concord, New Hampshire on South Main. D Designs, for those looking to get their artwork done for either their website or business logo, feel free to reach out to Danielle Festa-Keefe at dgraphicsnh.com. That is dgraphicsnh.com. Danielle Festa-Keefe is not only a very wonderful graphic art designer, but she's also a very talented painter, and she would like you to enjoy her work from the comfort of your own home, as she has this virtual reality art gallery that she has pretty much designed and came out with. And if you would like to see what she can do, she pretty much, all the paintings that she's done, she has uploaded into the portal. And to view it, you would go on her website, D Designs website, or you can go on Danielle Festa-Keefe's personal Facebook page and D Designs Facebook page. I believe they have one. And then you could click on the link, register like you would any other application or portal, and it'll direct you to this VR gallery. We can go in this virtual reality rooms and see actual artwork that she has uploaded into the program, which is pretty awesome, huh? It's pretty nifty. Technology's come a long way to the point where you can go places without even moving out of your chair, essentially. So check it out, Danielle Festa-Keefe, and if you want any of her services, please feel free to email her at dgraphicsnh.com. Let's see. Crawl Space Audio. I forgot there for a second. Crawl Space Audio. If you're looking to do any audio projects, such as podcasts, or you're a musician looking to record your work, feel free to reach out to Dave Swillem at 603-275-2020. That's 603-275-2020. The Cake Ferry Bakery, located at 110 Old Londonderry Turnpike Road in Hooksett, New Hampshire. They sell wonderful baked goods such as pies, cakes, cannolis, dessert logs, other cupcakes and dessert novelties, and baked novelties. But what they're best known for, in my opinion, is their eclairs. If you love eclairs, you'll love this place. And if you think eclairs are just mediocre, this place will change your mind, as they make amazing eclairs. They're nice, large, and full in size. Nice and dense. The custard is not too sweet, not too rich. It's nice and creamy and decadent the way you would want it. And the ganache, the fudge ganache on top is homemade, nice and dense, and just the right amount of sweetness that you would want from an eclair. So again, check them out. That is the Cake Ferry Bakery, located at 110 Old Londonderry Turnpike Road in Hooksett, New Hampshire. Speaking of baked goods, Clem's Bakery, located at 29 Indian Rock Road in Windham, New Hampshire. They also serve wonderful baked goods such as pies, cakes, cannolis, cupcakes, dessert logs, eclairs, and other great baked novelties. But what they're best known for, in my opinion, is their donuts. That's right. If you love donuts, you're going to love this place. They make them fresh every day and have all the traditional kinds that you would like, such as old-fashioned, honey glaze, chocolate frosted, vanilla frosted, strawberry frosted, jelly-filled, and the infamous Boston cream. But what their best set of donuts are, in my opinion, is both their vanilla and chocolate cream. No, it's not vanilla and chocolate cream in one donut. I wish that was the case. They should do that. It's a good idea. That'll be pretty tasty. But no, they have one set of just vanilla cream and another set of just chocolate cream. And they're baked fresh, nice and soft, what you would want from a nice yeast shell puff donut. And they have nice buttery, not too sweet, very homemade, very, very straight to the tea made vanilla cream and chocolate cream. So definitely check them out. I'm sure that you'll be a frequent customer if you love donuts. Again, that is Clem's Bakery, which is Klemms Bakery, located at 29 Indian Rock Road in Windham, New Hampshire. Give all these businesses your business, help them out, show your support, and tell them that you heard their business from yours truly, Scott Perry of Courtesy Call Podcast. So, all right, let's get into the nitty gritty. Let's get into more headlines, shall we? I mean, I said I had more headlines to discuss, more in today's news, and I already shared two big ones with the whole Biden administration vaccine mandate got pushed out by the Supreme Court for large businesses. I also talked about the Oath Keepers leader being arrested and indicted. So this past week, last weekend, to be exact, some sad news came through the media. Some very sad news was announced as a very well-known actor and comedian Bob Saget passed away and is in a hotel in Orlando, Florida. I'm not sure like what he was. There was no foul play. I don't think they said they saw foul play. I guess there was. They said there might be some like health issues there. But yeah, he passed away at age 65 last weekend in his Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Orlando. It's just sad. It's just sad. I said the Full House star was 65 years old. And he'd truly be missed. I know that he does comedy tours. He was doing comedy tours throughout the country, and you even saw some dates for places up here in New England, like places in Massachusetts. There was a couple here in New Hampshire, I believe, and some in Maine. And I've been meaning to check him out and see his stand-up because, I mean, he truly is a funny guy. From what I understand, he's nothing like how he was. He wasn't the Danny Tanner kind of humor. He was Bob Saget humor, which from my understanding was a very high mature rating, if you catch my drift. But yeah, it's just, it's sad. We definitely send our condolences. I know, Bob Saget, it says here, according to cinemablend.com, which is one of the many websites or sites out there you can go for movie and acting and show references and material and such. It says Bob Saget's wife says she is trying not to feel robbed of time after well-attended funeral, as they held a funeral recently, of course. There have been it says there have been outpouring of love for Bob Saget in the days since the comedian passed away at age 65 from his Full House family, including rare statement from Ashley and Mary Kay Olsen to fellow comedians Steve Harvey and Adam Sandler. It seems celebrities are lining up to share what a special man the world lost last weekend while the entertainment world was rocked by sudden death. Kelly Rizzo, Bob Saget's wife, who married Bob Saget in 2018, is undoubtedly feeling the loss on another level. And she spoke out after Saget's funeral, saying she's trying not to feel robbed of time. More than 100 people paid their respects to Bob Saget at a funeral service, January 14th, which was last Thursday, I believe. It was Thursday or Friday. I think it was Thursday. It should be Wednesday or Thursday. Anyway, in Los Angeles, Page 6 reported, including multiple A-listers like Dave Chappelle, John Mayer, and Saget's Full House co-stars John Stamos and Dave Coulier were among the pallbearers. It says and at the service, Kelly Rizzo posted a tribute to her husband on Instagram, saying that while her husband was taken from her too soon, she is lucky for the time they have shared. Very loving, very heartfelt, very wonderful statement. We send our condolences and support to the Saget family, and our strongest, deepest condolences to the Saget family. And yeah, gone too soon. Bob Saget passed away this past week. I liked Full House. It was one of my kind of favorite shows when I was growing up. I mean, the original Full House. I used to watch it all the time. I liked it, enjoyed it. It was good. I was looking forward to getting to know, actually checking out more of his material, of how Bob Saget's rated M mature material was. I'm pretty sure there's some stuff online I can check out and check out and see and whatnot. But yeah, very sad. And of course, anybody who loses a loved one is going to feel robbed in some way, sort of fashion, right? Fashion of just, not spending enough time with them, right? But I mean, it's just terrible. It's something that you just got to be reminded to spend as much time with each other as much as possible, and don't resent much of what each other do, because, you got to cherish every moment, right? Right. All right. In other news, for headlines, before we move on to talking about COVID stuff. More shootings happening. Is there more shootings happening? There's probably more shootings happening. There's a shooting happening. It's like 2 shootings a day on average. It's getting ridiculous. Let's get to tomorrow's MLK Day. What's open and what's closed? Just in case you want to know, like, which stores are open, which stores are closed. According to CNN.com, it says Martin Luther King Jr. Day is tomorrow, January 17th. It's a national holiday, which means some institutions and businesses may be closed. The national holiday observed. You know what? I'm going to do this later. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this one later. I'll read the article because I think right now I just rather what else? There's some other else I want to talk about. Let's talk about Jake Tapper reveals the reason why the former guy went to Arizona. Like he knows. This is also on CNN.com, CNNpolitics.com. Never mind. I guess there's nothing on there. Let's talk about this. It says, Let's talk about the this hostage situation at a Texas synagogue. I really don't. Let's talk about shootings real quick. So people are losing their damn minds. People are crazy today. They don't know how to handle their anger, handle differences. People are very sensitive today. And maybe this should be a topic for the societal topics of my choice, one of the 2 societal topics of my choice. But, you know, it's still like... so I think there's more than just one segment, and this is an issue that needs more than one segment, right? It's getting ridiculous. People have no respect out there. They're very sensitive, and they're handling their anger the wrong way, of course. None of acting like belligerent or causing a massacre or a terrorist act is going to solve anything. It's not going to solve anything. It's going to make issues bigger. More laws are going to be put into place. More investigation going to be put into place. We're going to lose a little bit more of our rights. You know, it affects everybody, and it just adds so much stress and inconvenience. So it's selfish to act out like this. I understand there's a lot of people that feel like there's no other way to express because I'll give them this. I'll say this, okay? There are people out there who are insensitive to other people's feelings because they feel like that their feelings are more important than others, right? So they kind of ignore other people's feelings, which people feel like they're not cared for, or that people don't do anything about like how they feel, or like they feel like that they have no value. Okay, and they try to get their point across or express things that are bothering them, but they have no one there that are willing to listen. So they're uneducated on stress and anger management, and they handle it the wrong way and go out and do things that are ridiculous. And if the anger and stress is high enough, it can push people to wanting to do something such as a terrorist act or commit a huge crime. Excuse me. But that's just it. And I think that if it's a mixture between people not becoming too insensitive to people's feelings out there, and looking to help people and reach out and help them, versus people actually accepting help, learning to take constructive criticism, and look for help. So it's a mixture of both. It's like you got to meet in the middle, right? You got to meet in the middle. I'll help you. I'll lend a hand out to help you out. As long as you meet me halfway, I'll help you out. But there's times that sometimes you might be able to help someone halfway. Some people are so down and so hurt, they may not be able to meet you a quarter of the way because they feel so weak. Sometimes just going above and beyond and meeting them all the way to where you need to lend a hand out, grab them and pull them out and then help them. That sometimes can go a long way. That sometimes can be very helpful. So mass shootings are getting ridiculous. It's not a way to handle your anger. Seek counseling. Mental health services open up their doors more. Find more room to get some more people in there so they can get some help and the help that they need. So, yeah. All right. Well, now let me give you the latest update. Switching things to COVID. Let me give you the latest updates on the number of cases versus the number of vaccinations out there and how many people are vaccinated, what percentage of what area is vaccinated, and such and whatnot. So as of today being Sunday, January 16th, 2022, the numbers are as follows. For number of cases, here in the United States, the total number of cases are 65,476,992 total cases here in the U.S. With, out of that number, there have been, sadly, very unfortunate, 849,566 total deaths. Very sad, very, very unfortunate. Around the worldwide, we have a total of 326,152,828 total cases here in the U.S. With out of that number, there are a total, sadly and very unfortunate total of 5,535,426 total deaths. Very sad, very, very unfortunate. And unneeded. Let's see, in the Granite State, Here in New Hampshire, we have a total of 235,898 total cases here in the state of New Hampshire. Without that number, very sad, very unfortunate, 180 total deaths. Excuse me, no, 2,079 total. I was reading the wrong line. I'm sorry about that. That was actually Merrimack County. Merrimack County actually has numbers. That's the first time I've noticed that they've had numbers. They probably had it for a while, but I just noticed it for the first time now. But yeah, that was state of New Hampshire, 2,079 total deaths. Very, very sad and very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. So, but if I can give you Merrimack Counties, I can give you Merrimack Counties, which is Concord. I think it's Concord, Bow, Hopkinton, Henniker, Hooksett, or is that Hillsborough? I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to look it up. But it's like those are those areas, those towns and such. Looking at a number of 24,667 total cases. Very sad, very unfortunate. A total out of that number, 180 deaths. Very sad and very, very unfortunate. So the cases have gone up. They have, obviously, and that is because of the spike of the Omicron. However, like I said earlier, the one thing I agreed with that 107.7 radio host or DJ, whatever, that female radio host DJ, is that like the Omicron, she did some research, and there's research out there and sources that state that the Omicron variant is very weak. The Omicron variant is very weak, but it's the most transmissible. So it means you can get it very easily. But when you get it, it's equivalent to a cold, maybe at the flu at the very, very most. If you're fully vaxxed, and that's for unvaxxed. For fully vaxxed, it'll be just like, I don't know, a cold, slight flu, but mostly a cold. And you kick it within less than a week. So the Omicron variant, very, very weak, but the most transmissible. So the cases are going to go up. So if you get the Omicron, they're going to say, okay, cases went up. That's a case, okay? So the cases are going up. They're going to skyrocket. But it's not the number of cases you should be worried about, per se. You really shouldn't be, It's not the number of cases you should be worried about. It's how many of those people are fully vaccinated is what you should be worried about. It's out of that number, how many of those people are fully vaccinated. And with that, let me give you the latest numbers on a number of total vaccinations. How many vaccinations have been administered out there versus how many are fully vaccinated. So here we go. Without further ado, here we go. So for vaccinations, here in the United States, there have been a total of 526,898,876 total doses administered here in the United States. Without that number, there are 207,371,017 people who are fully vaccinated, which leaves it at a total of 62.9% of the U.S. population are fully vaccinated, more than half. Okay. Around the worldwide, we're looking at a total of 9,371,326,391 total doses have been administered throughout the globe. And out of that number, there are 3,919,932,851 people who are fully vaccinated, which leaves it 50.4% of the world's population are fully vaccinated. 50.4%. So slightly tiny bit more than half. And here in the Granite State, New Hampshire, we have a total of 2,491,120 doses have been administered. Total doses have been administered here in the Granite State. Out of that number, 924,321 people are considered fully vaccinated. Which leaves it at an even of 68% even of the Granite State, of the state of New Hampshire, is fully vaccinated. So I see the numbers of this going up as well, the number of vaccines, and I've explained why vaccines are so important and why that matters more. I mean, listen to previous episodes, you know why this matters more. You know why this matters the most. And that's because the vaccines, if you're vaccinated, you're not going to suffer the full severe symptoms of, the virus if you get it and all the variants. You'll get the cold, something equivalent to the cold or a very small flu at the very most. And you'll kick it within less than a week. So how much should we be worrying about this? How much? If you're fully vaccinated, you should be fine. You should be able to mingle around other people who are fully vaccinated. If you're not fully vaccinated, and whatever the case may be, it may be, it's something that's unfair, but still, if your health and safety protocol, you probably shouldn't be mingling and should be going out. You should be staying at home. And at this point, I think the government should be like, you know what? Do whatever you want. You suffer your own consequences. You want your freedom? Go ahead and mingle around. But if you get severely sick, it's on you. It's no longer on us. It is 110% on you. That's the way we should look at it. And I think that's, probably a very, very, how do I say this? Bitter view of it. But I'm sorry, but it's getting ridiculous out there. It's getting really ridiculous. So we're going to have to take control here, seriously. But yeah, so get yourself fully vaccinated. Don't make don't go out there and mingle around people who are not fully vaccinated. Even though I think it's a good idea for essentially everybody to get COVID, so that your immune system can respond to it and identify it and see it, like I explained last week's episode, so your body knows what it is and can attack it and effectively. So when you get the next time, it'll be able to fight it off even quicker. And I mean, look at the influenza, look at the flu. When the flu came about for the first time, it was very very strong. It hurt a lot of people's health, and some people died from it because. Actually, a lot of people died from it because they weren't used to it. Their bodies weren't used to it. And yes, there weren't not many NSAIDs out there or medications or anything that could be taken to help with it. But also, their immune system was not used to it. They didn't know what it was. And a lot of them caught it at an older age, which your immune system isn't as strong when you get older, like your 40s, 50s, and 60s, and so on. So it's a little weaker, so it won't fight it off as much. So you really shouldn't be getting, it was a pretty big deal. But once people's immune systems got used to it, the immune system was able to attack it and be more familiar with it. So it's able to fight it off faster and quicker, right? So that's how we got to treat COVID. I'm sorry it sounds sadistic and a little crazy, but everybody needs to catch COVID, I believe, for this thing to be handled. It sounds terrible, but yeah. Those who are autoimmune compromised and getting COVID will really put you in the hospital. Then avoid people. Or if you're fully vaccinated, I think you should be fine, right? They say even autoimmune compromised, some of them should be fully vaccinated. And if you're too weak, if you're too weak for the vaccine, then you should wait until there's another version of the vaccine coming out, which there will be, that accommodate those who are autoimmune compromised. So. But essentially, scientific point of view, everybody needs to catch COVID. So, all right, moving on. So now we shift everything over to the headhunt segment. For those who do not know what the headhunt segment is, this is point where in the show where I go on social media outlets like Facebook or Twitter, mainly Facebook. I go on major news networks' Facebook pages like CNN, MSNBC, or a local news station, WMUR News 9. I find articles that were recently posted, and I try to find like comments that were posted underneath it that lacked a lot of substance. I feel like someone could use a little more material to make more of an intelligent statement. Or a question has been asked that I felt like wasn't answered correctly or at all. So I'll usually do about 2 or 3 of these. And and I give my strong opinion on them. So without further ado, here we go. All right, so it says CNN's. Here's one that was posted today, a little after, almost at 2:00, around like between 1:50 and 2:00 this afternoon, and it says CNN's Brian Stelter, he's an anchor, fact checks a false story pushed by conservative commentator Glenn Beck in an interview on Fox that the state of Washington had set up internment camps for anti-vaxxers. So I believe it's he fact checks the false story. It's a false story that conservative commentator Glenn Beck said in an interview on Fox that state of Washington has set up internment camps for anti-vaxxers. So I'll put camps for anti-vaxxers and to kind of force them to be vaxxed, which I would find that false. I don't think that that would be illegal. I don't think it would be legal because based on like I said earlier in the episode, I've been saying you can't force anybody to do anything. You can't really force them. You can influence them to do something, do the right thing, but we know how that's going. But you can't force anybody to do what you want them to do, you know? And I think that's highly illegal, yeah. But I don't think that's true. I think that's a made up, that's definitely a made up story and a made up, that's a huge allegation made by Glenn Beck. So, anyways, a woman by the name of Kathleen comments underneath. She asks, now, is he the one that whacks off on Zoom calls? Pardon my language, guys. But she asks, now, is he the one that whacks off on Zoom calls, or was that another CNN anchor? It's hard to keep up. Okay. So, in other words, so she's not a CNN fan. Clearly not a CNN fan. Not a fan of CNN. That's fine. It doesn't really say much about your character there, Kathleen, to make a comment like that, an inappropriate comment like that. First off, I mean, I don't think. I know that there was a politician or a news anchor that was caught naked on a Zoom call. I think I'm not sure if he belonged to CNN, but he was caught naked on a Zoom call. The one who pleasures himself on Zoom calls. I'm not sure if I heard this one. Let me look it up. Forbid my internet. I am not looking for anything inappropriate on here. Just looking to find some facts here. Oh boy. Says I got many sources referring to after looking it up, a CNN anchor pleasuring himself or masturbating to Zoom. I have many sources that say Jeffrey Toobin. I got a Jeffrey Toobin, and there's an article here that was posted last summer, and it says, "Whoops, hello, Allison." Turn off the volume there. Whoops. It says, it was posted on June 10th of last summer. It says Jeffrey Toobin is back on CNN 8 months after exposing himself on Zoom. It says Jeffrey Toobin returned to CNN as network's chief legal analyst on Thursday, 8 months after he exposed himself during a Zoom call with colleagues. And see, that's what I thought. I thought it was, I thought he just exposed himself. I didn't think he pleasured himself. I think using the phrase, whacking off as reference to masturbating, I think that's a very inaccurate statement. Very, very inaccurate statement. I think that's bending it to make it more than what it is. So you're obviously not creating very truthful substance there, Kathleen. I think you need to get your facts straight and maybe read on some material. Speaking of fact checking, you should read on material and and get your facts straight. That It was Jeffrey Toobin, and it was not Brian Stelter, so you got that wrong as well. And to make CNN seem worse than what they are, when you bend the truth and you add a lot of false accusations, of course you're going to try to make a news network seem like they're bad or like they're terrible. But when you really got nothing to run on and it's just accusations, you actually make yourself look like an idiot. So, no, it was Jeffrey Toobin, and he exposed himself on CNN during a Zoom call. He was not pleasuring himself, and it was an honest mistake. So, and there's no camps for anti-vaxxers. That's another false accusation as well. All right, moving on. Next one. But thank you, Kathleen, for posting. Even though it was highly inaccurate. Thank you for posting. Let's see what else. So this next article is going to be on MSNBC, which is another major news network. I see articles posted. It was the former guy is checking Governor DeSantis' ambitions in a surprising way. The former guy appears to be turning on DeSantis. Interesting. This could get interesting. Probably because DeSantis does not believe probably because he doesn't follow his agenda. Republicans will eat each other alive if they have disagreements, which happens often because Republicans they're selfish, okay? To put it in layman's terms. They're selfish, okay? They don't like to be, they don't really like to care about other people's well-being. I think we've seen evidence of that in the past, as of recent, the past like 2 or 3 years. They could care less, and so they'll turn on each other. They're like rats, right? If they're starving enough, they'll eat each other, right? So, it's not surprising that the former guy is going to be turning on DeSantis. DeSantis probably said a couple things the wrong way and kind of rubbed the former guy the wrong way, and now the former guy wants to fire back and has some disagreements with him. So that's not shocking. Yeah, that's good point. So, trying to think what else we want to do this. Okay. So this is an article I'm looking on here about. All right, I'm not going to. Okay, that's just a weird one. Okay, still searching. Bear with me. Okay, a lot of these, what's going on these days is there's some people out there seeing the light, though. They're starting to understand that, what the former guy and his posse were really doing after he didn't provide what he said he was going to provide. So a lot of people agreeing to a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them out there that I'm actually agreeing with. I'm trying to find a second one here. Am I going to start like agreeing with people or adding on to the agreements? Interesting. It's about insurrection. I'm trying to find insurrection here. So, okay. So here we go. I found one. Ugh, wow. Took a while. I need to start searching for these ahead of time. Sorry to waste your guys' time, but I should do it from now on. I should just do research some of these articles, list them down, find them, save them, and address them in order so it doesn't take up so much time. But I'll do that for future episodes. I will. Because it's eating up my time too. So I could save some time just by doing it ahead of time. All right, so here we go. So there's an article on MSNBC that was posted yesterday, last night. It says, when you come after their money, their assets, their buildings, guess what? They run, they scatter, they hide, they complain. Says D.C. Attorney General Carl Racine on his civil lawsuit against the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. And the article title says, this is about the insurrection, of course, regarding to the insurrection, January 6th insurrection last year. If far-right groups are bankrupt by a January 6th lawsuit, so be it, says DCAG, Attorney General. One person says, if you don't like America, then leave. But a man by the name of Jesse. Man by the name of Jesse says, meanwhile, in Colleyville, Texas, actual terrorism. Meaning as if January 6th was not actual terrorism. January 6th was absolute terrorism. It was probably a prime example of terrorism. It was angry mob going at a building, destroying it, hurting people, killing people, and not giving a damn. That is a prime example of terrorism. Now, I'm sure that the incident happening in Colleyville, Texas is also a prime example of terrorism, but January 6th was probably the biggest. The biggest. I mean, how can you deny that being terrorism? You would have to be really blind or very ignorant of both to not understand that and to deny that. So, yeah, January 6th was absolute terrorism. So sorry, Jesse, but your comment is ignorant and very inaccurate. But thank you for posting. Thank you for posting. Much appreciated. All right, last but not least, WMUR News 9. We're going to find an article on WMUR News 9 TV's Facebook page. For those who are not familiar who WMUR News 9 is, for those who live here in the Granite State, it's our local news source for local news and some national news headlines as well. And I hope I find an article quicker than I did with the last one. Let's see. It's not a vaccine, it's a therapy. Okay, I kind of agree with that. I don't think I'm gonna. All right, here we go. Found one. A lot quicker than the last one. This article was posted. It was obviously on WMUR News 9's Facebook page. I said that just a few moments ago. But this article was posted about around 1:00 this afternoon. And it says Matt Mowers came close to unseating Congressman Chris Pappas in 2020 and in 2022. He's looking for a rematch and a win. So it's about the upcoming election about to happen with congressman reps. It says, the title says, Close Up, Mowers seeks rematch with Pappas in NH01. So yes, an election about to happen, 2022, I believe. Or for the next election for, I believe, representatives. And it says, obviously, would be the United States reps. We have Pappas, and I believe we have she begins with the K. I forget her name. But yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But yes, he's Chris Pappas, a United Sates rep. Matt Mowers is looking to seek a rematch and a victory with him. As you know, Matt Mowers is a Republican, I believe. Could be. It says, and a man by the name of Michael posted underneath this article and said, sorry to say there are Democrats who don't care about a 7% inflation rate. They don't care about 9.7% increased wholesale prices coming our way. Democrats don't care if drugs are coming in the U.S. all the way down on our southern border. They don't care murders going up in other cities where babies are dying. Pappas doesn't care if our state voting rights are being taken away by a political party. He voted to do it. Let's just hope enough Democrats hate what's going on and votes him out. Okay, it's a lot to say there, Michael. However, I think it's false. Shocker. I think it's false. I think Democrats do care about inflation rate. That's why our president is trying to bring that down. But the right-wing conservative ringnuts who are refusing to do their jobs and participate in helping this country are causing inflation rates to go up. And you got these billionaires and millionaires holding in money, keeping the money for themselves, not throwing it out there in the economy, and there's not enough money being rotated, so they have to lift the prices up to make sure they keep the economy balanced, because we have millionaires and billionaires hoarding in money. They're not spending it fast enough. They're just holding on to it and spending very little, which is I absolutely praise good budgeting, okay? I am all for supporting smart budgeting. Me coming from a financial background, I'm a financial guy. I do it for part of my other commitments. But yeah, I am full support of smart budgeting. But when you hoard in money and don't give it out or don't do much with it, you kind of keep all that money like at bay into like different areas that don't get circulated. So there has to be inflation that gets increased to help balance the economy. That's economics 101. Okay? So, but the Democrats are trying to come up with a system that balances the economy by taxing the rich and giving the 1% their fair share due of taxes to pay, which will make some money circulate through the economy, even more money circulate through the economy, and will cause inflation rate to go down as there's more money circulating. So, you can blame the right-wing nuts for that, not the Democrats. And they do care about drugs coming into the U.S. They just haven't cracked down on it much because they've been trying to handle bigger issues like the pandemic and like January 6th insurrection and like equality and such. But drugs is, coming down on that is very important. As a matter of fact, if you go online, look up the Biden administration's agenda, look up Biden's agenda. There is like multiple titles and articles on there or objectives on there that deal with drugs within our country and coming into our country and are being circulated and trafficked. He has those items on his agenda. He will be taken care of. I would say, what is it? Wednesday or Thursday will be it will be his 1 year. It'll be 1 year that he's been in office, something like that. So about a year. He's been in office for about a year, and he's now wrapping up about 2 or 3 items out of the 20 to 30 things on his agenda. So, and drugs is one of them. So he does care. I mean, the Democrats do care, and they're definitely on board with that. Murdering babies, that's way out of context. That's so ridiculous. That's such a huge, ridiculous claim. Such a bad claim. I don't think they're supporting people killing babies. I think we're talking about was an abortion, right? and letting women have control of their own body. If a woman who is raped, molested, or has something go on to where they conceive a child or they end up pregnant, that they can abort it and get rid of it and take care of it before it actually becomes a baby. Because if it actually became a baby, then that would be illegal. And that would be completely wrong, and I would be on board with holding them accountable. But that's not what's happening. They're all for abortion rights. The right-wing Republicans don't, because they can't do much with that. And they say they believe in pro-life, but yet these are the same douches who won't get a vaccine. So it's hypocritical. It really is, to make that statement. And it's so false. Democrats not looking to kill babies. They're looking to make sure women have control of their own bodies and abort a pregnancy before it becomes it becomes a fully formed human being, a baby. So anyway, that's an asinine comment. But thank you for posting. Pappas was all for the abortion rights. Not a bad guy. Really an upright, kind of very strong, but a very charismatic person, Chris Pappas. And I would say him and his father own a wonderful restaurant in Manchester called, I'm pretty sure you've heard of the Puritan. For many people in the Granite State and Southern Hampshire have heard of the Puritan, right? It's a very infamous restaurant known for their chicken tenders and mudslides. Got the best in the state. Best in the state. Go try them out if you haven't. But yes, he owns a wonderful restaurant, but he's also a wonderful guy, trying to do a lot for the community, a lot for the state, and a lot for our country to help our country become more equal and more stable. Unlike the right-wing nut conservatives who are looking to destroy this country and apparently don't give a damn about people. Only people that give them their benefit. That's it. That's the objective. That's the philosophy of the right-wing Republicans, the wing nuts. Again, Michael, thank you for posting. I appreciate it. But next time, fact check your sources. All right. Well, we're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, it's going to be the 2 societal topics of my choice. So don't go anywhere. There's still more to come here on Courtesy Call.
Coming in to get a deal that includes existing customers, he'd probably buy Maple. We'll give him an even 6 foot. It's Discard!
Wait. Did I just hear existing customers can get a deal?
Yep, at AT&T, new and existing customers get our best deal on all smartphones.
That's pretty great. You think it looks 6 foot?
I sure do. Kind of.
It's not complicated. Only AT&T gives new and existing customers the same great deals on all smartphones. Get up to $800 off our latest 5G smartphones.
Tasha, did you know Geico could save you hundreds on car insurance and a whole lot more? So what are you waiting for? Hip-hop group tag team to help you plan dessert?
French vanilla, rocky road, chocolate, peanut butter cookie dough. Scoop that is, scoop that is, scoop that is, scoop that is, scoop shakalaka, 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 shaka, scoop shakalaka, shakalaka, shakalaka.
Geico. Switch today and see all the ways you could save.
Oh my, with Chase Freedom Unlimited, I earn all this cash back? Oh, I gotta tell everyone. Hey Rita, you can earn 3% on dining, including takeout.
Bon appetit.
Hey Kim, you earn 5% on travel purchase through Chase.
Way ahead of you.
Hey Neil, you can earn 3% at drugstores.
Buddy, I'm right here. Why are you yelling?
Because that's what I do. You're always earning with 5% cash back on travel purchase through Chase. 3% at drugstores, 3% on dining, including takeout, and 1.5% on everything else you buy. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Building a better bank starts with looking at something old and saying, really? So Capital One is building something completely new. Capital One Cafes. Inviting places with people here to help you, not sell you. And savings and checking accounts with no fees or minimums, because that's how it should be. You can open one from right here or anywhere in 5 minutes. Seriously, 5 minutes. This is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
The greatest stories don't have to end.
If we do this, we're gonna do it our own way.
they can expand, evolve, connect each generation to the next. The stories continue. Only on Disney Plus.
Welcome back, everyone, to Courtesy Call Podcast here on IPMNation.com. For those who are just joining us, before the commercial break, I talked about, terrorism happening in the United States. Talked about, like, that shutting headlines right now. Of course, there is the Texas synagogue, a hostage situation out there, a terrorist situation out there. They're happening. Plus, I talked about mass shootings and terrorist acts in general in the United States and how it's getting out of hand. And that something definitely needs to be done about it, because this is definitely not a way to handle our anger and stress. So we need to find a better outlet, and pleaded that mental health centers and those who are counselors who can reach out to people who are struggling with mental health and behavioral disorders, if they can reach out to them and help as many as possible. As it's very important, very vital today, more than it's been in years, so please help someone out. If you know someone's struggling with mental illness or anger and stress issues, please help them out and help them understand and learn how to handle their anger and stress levels better. So, and look up on how to do that. So I also talk about something's going on in the media, people causing political rhetoric, people causing a lot of issues out there as well. The former guy turning on DeSantis, probably because DeSantis said something wrong the former guy didn't like. Republicans eat each other alive all the time when they disagree with one another, because, right-wing wingnuts, like to, they're selfish. And if someone says one tiny thing that goes against their agenda and philosophy, forbid if that happens at all, they're going to turn on each other. So it's like watching two very rabid rats, and jackals going at it and attacking each other. You don't give a damn. Like, what? You just hope everybody learns from this, I also give you the latest updates on COVID-19, the number of cases versus the vaccinations, and I give you the latest numbers on that. Numbers are going up with cases, but number of vaccinations are also going up, and you should not be as concerned with the number of cases as much as, like, how many people are vaccinated. That's the real number you should be worried about. The real number you should be paying attention to is how many people are fully vaccinated. As if you're fully vaccinated, you won't suffer the full severe symptoms from the virus. Instead, you'll suffer low to moderate symptoms at the very, very most, like the cold or a very small flu. And you'll kick it within less than a week, roughly, is what data and statistics are showing. So get yourself vaccinated, stay safe, and be mindful of others. So went into that, went into headhunt segments and talked about that. Took a long time finding the second article. I apologize for that. I'll do my research next time and make it a little bit more quicker, so it's not such a long of a wait and we're wasting time. I found the last article pretty timely, so I'll discuss that as well. So did that. So went to commercial break. So again, if any of you have any questions or comments that pertain to anything that was discussed on this episode or previous episodes, feel free to reach out on both our Facebook and Twitter pages, which our Facebook is facebook.com/Courtesy Call Podcast. Simple enough. And our Twitter is @CourtesyCall4U. It's the @ Courtesy Call, the number 4, and an uppercase letter U. Let me know what your thoughts are and ask some questions. I'll round them up this upcoming week, and we'll address them on next week's episode, which will be episode 47, which will be available for download a week from today, which will be Sunday, January 23rd, 2022 at 10 a.m. here on IPMNation.com. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, or what's left of it. Some of you, like I said earlier, have a 3-day weekend, right? as tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, right? And as promised, I said I was going to read off the closing businesses that could be closed on MLK Day. Okay, I started to read it earlier, but I was like, no, I'll save it to later in the episode. Well, here it is, later in the episode. And speaking of Martin Luther King Day, these are some businesses that could be closed tomorrow due to the observation of Martin Luther King Day, of the day. It's a national holiday. So it says here on CNNbusiness.com, CNN, I trust them very, very much for many, many reasons. You listen to previous episodes, you'll know why. I do this for most trusted. But CNNbusiness.com says Martin Luther King Jr. Day is tomorrow, January 17th, Monday, January 17th, is a national holiday, which means some institutions and businesses may be closed. The national holiday observes the birthday of civil rights leader Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964. He was assassinated 4 years later. Very sadly, very unfortunate enough. You can expect government agencies, banks, and some realtors and corporate offices to be closed. So, for instance, yes, again, government agencies, banks, some retailers, and corporate offices to be closed. So, for instance, post offices, right? United States Postal Service will be closed tomorrow. So there will be deliveries of U.S. residential or business mail. Also, I think they made a typo here. I think it's so there will not be deliveries of U.S. residential or business mail, but it says will be by mistake. So I believe there will not be deliveries of U.S. residential or business mail, unless it was sent priority mail express. Other delivery services will be open. Yeah, that sounds about right. Including UPS and FedEx Albeats, with modified service for FedEx Express and FedEx Ground Economy. So there you go. So postal services will be closed. Retail. Big retailers like Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, and majority grocery stores will stay open now. They will stay open for tomorrow as people need stuff. It's a necessity for groceries and supplies and such. So they will stay open. As will most national restaurant chains. Hours may differ with local stores and restaurants. So make sure you check those. So do it up. Financial services next. Financial services like banks, right? The New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ are closed. Of course, they usually do that every MLK and other holidays as well. They're closed tomorrow as well. Same goes for most banks, which follow the calendar for the Federal Reserve. ATMs and online banking services will be available to access them. So those will be able to do things with, but most banks and federal, state, and chain will be closed. Most of them will be closed. And last but not least, government agencies. Non-essential government offices such as the DMV and state and federal courthouses will be closed tomorrow. So will many public libraries. Many public libraries will be as well, and city offices. So be sure to check ahead for local guidelines. So those are the places that will be closed for tomorrow's observance of Martin Luther King Day. Okay? So check your local listing or local guidelines, and do some research. Check it out online. Look it up online to find out if a business near you or a store or a place near you is going to be closed for the observance of tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day. So check it out. Look it up. So speaking of 3-day weekend, I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend again, or what's left of it. You guys are having some fun. playing out in the snow, going out there and checking out some activities out there. I know it's been cold. Like I said, opening up the episode, this episode, I said it was really cold out this past week. As last night was frigid, and I believe it was like Wednesday or Thursday was really cold. It was anywhere from it was the single digits to under the single digits. It was like below zero. I think like 3 to 5 degrees below zero last night, and I think Wednesday or Thursday in some places. So it's been too cold to go out, but you should start seeing some weather, warm up a little bit, to get up there in the 20s and 30s. Will make it comfortable as long as you're bundled up to play out in the snow and do a lot of wintry activities such as skiing, snowboarding, tubing, sledding, building a snowman, snowball fights, safely conduct, have a snowball fight, but don't throw ice balls at each other. But enjoy the weather, enjoy the festivities, enjoy the winter season. It's in full effect here in 2022. So, which I am going to be obligated to tell you that in about a week and a half, a little bit more than a week and a half, just slightly over a week and a half, my lady and I will be heading on vacation to somewhere down south. I'll share you more of the details as we get closer, but just to give you a heads up, courtesy call may be on a little bit of a hiatus during that time because we're going to be gone for about 2 weeks. So give you a heads up. Going on vacation in a little over a month and a half, my lady and I. So we're going to have a lot of fun. Share you the details probably at some point within the next 3 to 5 weeks. So, okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, what else? What am I doing this weekend? I've pretty much been busy with work and other things and other commitments and such. Doing this podcast episode. Actually, after this episode, I am going out. I got to do some cleaning. I'm checking out some football. The NFL playoffs kicked off yesterday. Been really into it. As you know, football is my second favorite sport other than hockey, right? So I've been following up on NFL playoffs. Saw the Raiders lose last night to the Cincinnati Bengals. And saw the Patriots. We don't even talk about that. Honestly, Patriots got dominated last night. We don't need to go into any further details. So that was an abomination of a performance. That's all I got to say. But today, right now, I would say earlier today, the Bucs beat the Philadelphia Eagles. So that was good. Brady and the boys move over to the divisional round. They take on the winner, I believe, of Dallas and San Francisco. So, meanwhile, when the matchup between the LA Rams and the Arizona Cardinals, that's happening, I believe, right now. And whoever wins that takes on the Green Bay Packers in the divisional. So keep eyes and ears peeled for that. So also tonight, another week of Southern New Hampshire USBC bowling. So as my team, Lane Crashers, takes on a very competitive team in the league, and we're looking to continue the progress that we have been making, continue to do very well. We are currently proudly grateful to announce that my team, Lane Crashers, we are currently undefeated. So we start off strong so far. And the first 2 weeks of the season, we've been strong. So we are looking to remain strong. And but this is one of the toughest opponents we'll go against is tonight. So hopefully, wish us luck, and we could keep the streak going. Right, keep it going. That's the game plan. So. And then tomorrow I got more work to do. Even though it's MLK Day, I don't really get a break from it. So, and then on Tuesday I'll be in Henniker to go see the NEC men's hockey team take on, I believe, Babson. So go see some local college hockey. It's always fun. Grab a hot chocolate, cheer on the team, right? So fun stuff in effect, fully in effect. And then don't forget, in 2 weeks, for you those who live here in the capital region, live here in central to southern NH, who love hockey, the Black Ice Pond Hockey Tournament starts in 2 weeks. here in Concord at White's Park. And that's an infamous classic event, so I'll be attending. I am on the list to participate, but if I don't get a call within the next week and a half, I won't be. So that's how that goes. So that's how my weekend is. That's how my week's going to be. And I hope the rest of your week is pretty great and eventful as well, in a good way. All right, now it is time for the 2 societal topics of my choice. This is where it gets fun. This is where I share my strong opinions. For those who know me personally, have hung out with me for a while, know that I can be very opinionated to certain things. Know I have a strong opinion on a lot of things. And know I carry a strong personality. I mean, you could tell on this show. But towards society, this is my bread and butter. This is where I pay attention the most. And I think a lot about this stuff. And I always think to myself, I would like to help society become better than what it's been. Every generation could say that their society previous was better and that the forwarding, generation is the worst. But I think we've gotten to the line where it's between, acceptable to unacceptable. And there's so much things that are getting out of hand, obviously. Like I've stated many times, and as you could just look at the media and you could tell society is out of control. And hopefully we can make it better by, taking some advice from others, such as myself and other people, and looking to do better and become better people. Okay? So this is one of my favorites. This is probably the favorite part of my segment, other than the politics part and such. So I'll give you a little bit of review of previous topics I've discussed before. As you know, the infamous one is piss poor driving, right? Driver's etiquette is out the window. And a lot of piss poor drivers out there. People not using their directional. This has been going on for years, but it's getting worse and worse. I'm noticing more accidents and more accidents every day and every week. And I'm willing to bet if you talk to the people of the DOT, they'll tell you, yeah, this is like the worst. They haven't seen anything like this in years. As a matter of fact, I know that's what they'll say. Why? Because I've talked to them. And they've told me, yes, this is like the worst it's been in years. And people are not paying attention to the roads, not paying attention to where they're going. They do not care. They have no regards for safety on the road whatsoever. They're selfish. They're either in a rush, they're impatient, or they're not mindful only when a car's coming around, or they just don't care. They're just throwing all their care and ambitions to the wind, So they just don't give a damn on the road. And that's a bad place to not give a damn. Being run off the road, not taking safety precautions like watching out for black ice around this time of year, not using their directional. You can confuse fellow drivers where you're going. So when you merge, they don't think you're merging, but they see you coming closer, and that causes an accident. And then and here's the big thing from what I'm gathering. A lot of these accidents are caused by people who are driving under the influence. Yeah, shocker. Drugs and alcohol. I mean, drugs should not be, administered at all. I mean, especially recreationally. That's highly against the law. It should be. But especially behind the wheel, when you are operating a vehicle going more than 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. And going past 20 or 30 is out of hand. And then even being behind the wheel at all is inappropriate and unexcusable when you're under the influence. You really got to clean it up. Yeah, I get it. You have a couple of beers at a bar or a restaurant or wherever, and you want to go for a drive, right? You want to go for a little bit of stroll. There should be no harm into that. I get it. There should be no harm done. However, if you can't handle a couple of drinks, you don't need to be behind the wheel. My suggestion, stay at the bar, drink some water, and relax and chill. Don't drink any more alcohol and just wait it out until you sober up enough to where you can handle yourself behind the wheel and drive and operate a vehicle, mindfully. A lot of people just don't care. A lot of people say, I had a rough day, I had rough this, and that's somehow their excuse to get drunk and then go behind the wheel and then cause an accident and invade people's safety. They think that's an excuse. It is not. I'm sorry if I come across insensitive. I'll talk about that momentarily. Hint, hint. Second topic. of a choice. But anyway, I'm sorry if I'm insensitive here, but I don't care that you had a very stressful day and that bad things happened and you went through a lot of craziness and had a rough day and you need to drink it up. I don't care that someone cheated you or stepped on your toes or gave you some bad, advice or did a lot of bad things to you, okay? And I don't care that you have, that you can't take society anymore, you can't take your job anymore, you can't handle family problems anymore, and you got all these problems going on. I don't really give a damn if it makes you go behind the wheel or get drunk and then go behind the wheel and drive unsafely on the road and cause accidents and hit someone and potentially kill them or harm them badly. Your excuse, I really don't think you have one. I really don't give a damn what your problems are if you're going to be that irresponsible and not that mindful. They say drink responsibly for a reason. Practice it. Listen to it. It's not just words or just something to fill in commercial rotations. It is a real piece of advice that I think today's society needs to understand and needs to bury into their head. Drive safely and drink responsibly. Now, for those who use drugs, okay, that's a whole different story. No using drugs at all, especially behind the wheel. You should get the max sentence. No excuse whatsoever. You pay the consequences. You pay the consequences. You should not be using drugs at all. Don't do it behind the wheel. If I catch someone doing that, I'm sorry. Whether it's drugs or alcohol, I am ripping you out of your car. You can call the police to start a fight or whatever. I'm sure they'll be pleased to know that you were about to get behind the wheel under the influence. And I'm sure I'll be looked at as doing the right thing, as just doing my civil duty. So go ahead, test me. I dare you, test me. We'll see what happens. So, all right. So there's my review. Sorry, I went a little lengthy there, but it's getting out of hand. It really is. It needs to stop. People need to pay attention to the road. There's a reason why I talk about this every week, and I'm not expecting it to get better within weeks or months, maybe not even a couple of years. I'm hoping within 3 to 5 years, maybe less than 5, maybe 3 to 5 would be great. People can listen to this episode or listen to this, or people who are listening to this episode or previous episodes or any part of Courtesy Call, any part of this, any of this, shares it with their friends and family, and the word of mouth work. They pass it on. And it gets more aware that the safety of the roads is garbage right now, and that people need to be a lot more mindful when they're behind the wheel. That's all I was going to say about that. Piss poor parenting is another thing. It's another review I like to give, but I'm not going to give as lengthy a review. It's not as bad, but I do notice it. I do go to stores and see parents yelling at their children about small things. Like a child was asking their mother if he or she can get a candy bar, and the mother just yells at them on top of their lungs, yells at them as if they just broke something very expensive or something. And even at that's a little bit much. I've seen parents do the opposite, let their kids have what they want when they throw a temper tantrum. It's no, you're not getting it. And then the temper tantrum gets underway. And then once that happens, and the parents okay, maybe if you'd be good from now on. It's good. They were just bad. They were nowhere near good. I mean, they were throwing a temper tantrum. And you're going to reward that? No wonder why kids grow up today to feel entitled and to be douchey. And it's because parents like that enable it. They raise them incorrectly. They make it seem it's okay to throw temper tantrums. Hey, if you throw a temper tantrum, you get what you want. That's what it's teaching them. And that's why you have these snobby, douchey, teenagers that feel overly entitled, and it's causing more issues. Freaking stop rewarding your kids for bad behavior. Discipline them and reward only good behavior. Thank you. Please. All right, let's move on to the first actual new-ish societal topic of my choice. All right, so this one we're revisiting. I think both of these we're going to revisit, because it's still an issue, and still I have problems with it personally. I know other people I've talked to have had problems with it personally. my friends and family have had problems with it, and it's kind of something I just want to make known and reiterate some things and address some other things about it. This topic is none other than a topic I addressed in the first, I think it was episode 1, 2, or 3. It's one of the first few episodes of the show. This topic, I hold dearest, and it's very important and must know, and it's very, very important to understand. This topic is none other, for those who work in any business or any industry, will find valuable to understand, and those who are in charge and run a business or help run a business will find very useful to understand. This topic is none other than about, you guessed it, management. Management in a business anywhere. Management in general is very essential to any atmosphere, whether you're managing finances at your home or managing activities at home, at work, or your personal duties, whatever. It is very important to understand how to manage things properly, especially people. In business, management, all management is just managing people. If you think about it. Yes, you gotta know about how to do certain procedures, certain materials, how to operate the job, do the job itself, and all the things ins and outs and the skills and such. But essentially, it comes down to just managing people. And if you're not managing people effectively, then things can go very, very wrong, especially if you're not a people person, right? It's kind of like a bad position to be in if you're not a people person. Because you can do a lot of things wrong that can hurt your business and the atmosphere of your job. Like if you just give one-word answers, you don't like to communicate properly, you just like to give the wrong information, don't care to look up the correct information, or just do what your personal feelings are opposed to what actually the job calls for, that can stir up more issues and cause a lot of problems. Especially, and here's another thing. If you are not necessarily people just don't like people, but if you're like the type of person who likes to be in control and be controlling, a person that's known as a tyrant, if you're a tyrant at your job, management's not going to work. You can't overbear people and be against people so much and be favoring or try to make yourself topped above everybody else and not listen to your subordinates much and call yourself a manager, because that's not what real managers do. That's not what successful managers do. Successful managers understand their employees, listen to employees, not just the ones they like, but the ones they don't like or don't see as much eye to eye as they do with the others. They treat everyone equally and as equal. They don't project favoritism or give too much privilege, all right, to one because they like the other. You listen to everybody, all your subordinates, all their issues and problems they got within the company with you. You listen to them. You're kind of like a secondary HR in a way. You're part of HR in a way, even though it's technically HR's job to listen to you complain about the job and about everything that's going on within the company. But as you're the manager, you are like kind of the connection right there to make sure things flow evenly. So an employee does not need to go to HR. They can solve it through you. If an employee can solve an issue going on within the business between people, like with just you and not HR, then that's success. That's success. That is the point. That is the point right there. You have to be able to listen to your subordinates, understand your subordinates, understand that you might not know everything because nobody knows everything. I know your subordinates could have more knowledge than you on some things, right? Maybe not about the job, but about other things. And that's part of what management is. It's managing people. It's part of it's leadership. It's influencing people to meet a common goal, right? To reach a common goal. It's delegating different job titles on people's strength. Your sole purpose and job as a manager, first of all, should be getting to know your subordinates, getting to know their strengths and weaknesses, getting to know what they can handle and can't handle, and actually evaluating them accurately. Not like drawing up an image about them or a false image or getting them confused of how they really are because you're not given a good quality time and good fair chance to actually get to know them. You're actually being biased and you got a poor image of who they are. So you don't know what they're actually good at and what their weaknesses are. And you just assume that they're not good at this or they're good at this. And you throw them into a position where they're unable to handle something because you put them in a position that's not easily to be able to handle for them, or you put them in a position that they're not good at and, they screw something up. Or you put them in a position that they are good at, or put them give them a task that they are good at, but you don't. But you take them away from it because you steer them away from stuff that they actually are good at. They're not able to show their strengths. Excuse me, I'm just getting this all lined up and constructed and organized and such. But like, you gotta be able to understand what they, be honest. If they're good at this, you should assign them to a job that shows that skill or gives them that skill, where they have to project that skill, where they're actually good and can shine and excel. You don't give them a job where they're not good at and set them up to fail. You don't want to do that. That's what poor managers do. Hold grudges. You're not going to be on top of everything. Okay. And if a subordinate doesn't agree with your ways, that's all right. Not everybody's going to agree with your ways. They just got to follow your direction, but you also got to be open to what they may see as well, that they could see something differently. And if you're too ignorant to find alternatives to what you originally believe or to like bend your philosophy a little bit, then you're not a good manager. You shouldn't be in management. Managers are easily able to adjust, able to figure things out, to be mindful and considerate of everybody, not just one or two people, everybody, and understand the outcome and not hold grudges or retaliate to a subordinate just doing what they're supposed to do. That is not okay. And to bend the truth to make that employee seem like they're bad or try to sabotage them, try to defamate their character or to slander them in any way, shape, or form, that is against management code, against any code in the business, very toxic, very poisonous, and you should be removed. That, or at least talk to. Slap on the wrist. Because you're affecting people's lives here. You're affecting the job atmosphere. People going to work to do their jobs, not to deal with drama and BS. Unfortunately, that does happen because people have no purification or no distinction between personal issues and professional issues. Things are professional and bring it into the professional establishment, and that causes a toxic environment, which stirs up a lot of toxic behavior, which can also enable people to not want to work there anymore. You want people to work there and be happy working there and not feel miserable and drained going in because they have to face you or talk to you or even see you. They have to feel comfortable and happy to be around you, and it's you as the manager to set up that setting, not the subordinates. That's how it goes. If you don't know that and this is the first time understanding it or disagree with that, go to school. Go learn actual management. Because that's what you need to follow. That's what you need to understand. Any business that doesn't follow the management book is a failed business, and a business that's going to always have so many problems more than others because they just choose not to follow the book. Because the book is there for a reason. It's successful. It helps. It keeps you on the narrow path to steer you to success, not failure. And there's businesses that are going against the book are failing. They are failures because they didn't go to the book and they went against it. Because the book was created for a reason. When businesses were actually successful and succeeding at their goals and objectives, and management was great and not perfect, but great in a much better state and healthy, it's when they went by the book. Because the book is there for a reason. It's factual research of things that work and that go in correlation with activity that make things work. You don't follow the management book and you're not educating management, get out. Get out. Communication is key. I always talk about that. Communication's key. If you're terrible at communicating, you need to get better at it or change your position, because especially as management, if your communication's bad, it can ruin a lot of things. If you don't communicate with other departments to make ends meet or make things meet up and create and obtain a goal, you're going to create more issues. You're going to create more problems. So stop. Communicate better with your employees, with your subordinates, and learn great communication skills. That's something maybe you should go to school for and take at least three courses in it, at least, to understand better communication. Take business communication, take communicating mindfully, and take broadcasting. I don't know if it tickles your fancy. Do 3 different classes of communication to all teach you the ethics of communication and the philosophy of great communication and make you a better person at communicating, make you better at communicating with others. Because if you can't do that, a business, your organization, your team, any group is going to fail. Always demonstrate great communication. All right. So that was management. Now comes the other end of the stick of things. This one is also an issue I've discussed before, once or twice. Not as much as management and communication. Definitely not as much as communication. But also another issue I believe I've talked about in previous episodes that needs to be brought up because it's becoming another issue within society today, within today's society. So here it is. This one's about people's feelings, hurting people's feelings versus people need to grow up and not be so, well, you get it, sensitive. And so, emotional. This one, of course, is sensitivity. This one is about just a fact of that. This is not about none other than sensitivity versus insensitivity. People are very sensitive versus people are insensitive. Like I said, I've talked about this before. Should ring a bell to some frequent listeners out there. But yes, there are people out there. There's no brand. I mean, it's no surprise that today's society is very sensitive. It's very well known. People are so sensitive today and so butthurt over everything. It makes certain things hard to establish or to be able to conduct certain things because people are going to get upset. To be able to communicate certain things, to be able to talk about certain things, to address certain things, and to really get down to an issue because people are so damn sensitive. Right? Excuse me. So, with management, like I said, it's like managers can be insensitive or sensitive, right? But anywhere. It can be not just within the business. It's everywhere. You try to talk to someone about something that's vital and constructive. Vital and constructive and will do good. But you can't because once you talk a little bit about it, this person gets so emotional, so upset, so bitter, they're unable to handle the facts. And that's a problem because if you're unable to talk about the facts, you can't get anything done. Nothing gets done if you can't communicate truthfully. You got to tell it how it is, as I've known some people say. My folks say the same thing. You got to tell it how it is. And that's exactly it. And not many people can handle that. And it'll cause a lot of issues from telling it how it is. And you want to be able to help them is the main thing. I get it. You want to help them and help the situation, but this person's just not ready for it. Even small things that shouldn't even stir up an issue, people are making an issue about. Like if you're talking about, certain situations of coaching, right? Like in sports, if you talk about people kneeling versus not kneeling, you say something simple like, I believe that everyone should be equal, but I believe on the same note, we should respect our country. Something simple as that actually looks at both ends of the stick, right? Flares up so much controversy. I mean, you say that on social media, let's say you have 2,500 friends on your social media account, right? You'll have I would say you post that, you're expecting maybe 100, right? At the most. Let's say you'll probably get 1,200 people, maybe 1,500 people to respond to that, get flared up within the first hour. I almost guarantee it. And that's exactly it. And it's like you can't say something like that. And it's on both ends of the stick. But the fact that you talked about wanting equality with wanting equality and then respecting our country, as you're talking about not support, that you support the kneeling of athletes, the athletes kneeling for the national anthem, you kind of support it, that's going to spark up controversy, even if you don't fully support it. Even just a little bit of support on that other side sparks up controversy. And then if you talk about supporting our country, that you don't support the kneeling during the national anthem fully, that also sparks controversy because now you don't support equality. So you do support equality, but you don't. It's no. Maybe this person's just trying to express that, that they believe in expressing equality and expressing, change, but doing it in a different manner. Yeah. Believing there's a different way to express equality and protest equality than to kneel during the national anthem and be so disrespectful. Maybe that's what they're trying to get across. They're not trying to harm you or harm anybody else. They're just stating their own opinion. Years ago, I saw a meme on Facebook where a guy had a gun to someone's head, and it's like today, it's like this, expressing your opinions today. Expressing your opinions is like this, you know? Someone has the gun to your head for expressing it. And that's, it's sad. It's namby-pamby. But people are so sensitive. You can't talk about the truth that, like, about gender equality. If a woman goes out vacationing all the time, is barely with the company, she does not deserve equal pay. But I'm not, and that's all I'm saying. All I say is, if a woman, and anybody, because that controversy was about women getting equal pay. It wasn't talking about men getting equal pay. It was about women getting equal pay. And if I said, oh, well, those women who go out there and vacation, party all the time, and not with the company as much and do much of their job, it shouldn't get paid as much. Or not as dedicated to the company as others are. They should not get paid much. Now, controversy is like, oh, now I'm saying all women shouldn't deserve equal pay because all women go out and party and vacation and do all this stuff. It's like, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. What I said was some women, because we're talking about women and equality with pay, right? I said some women who go out there and party all the time or vacation all the time and not close to their company as others or do much for their company as others do not deserve equal pay. And that just doesn't go with women. It goes to everybody. Men, women, transgender, alien, whatever. You know, they don't deserve equal pay if you're not as dedicated to your company. Plain and simple. But we weren't talking about men equal pay. We were talking about women with equal pay. If it's about everybody in general equal pay, then I would have said some men and women. Some women and men don't deserve equal pay if they're not as dedicated to the company as others are. Getting their jobs done and stuff. Getting their objectives done and all that stuff. And doing their jobs. So people get so sensitive though, and they bend the truth and they bend the reality of what was said and the facts, and they don't understand what's actually said. And they just stir up this whole image off from one small thing. So that's where sensitivity comes into play. And people get, so mad, so angry. They cry over small things. And it's that whole saying, don't cry over spilt milk. Well, they're crying they're crying over like a droplet of milk. It's not even like a half a cup or a cup. It's a droplet. Not even. So, yeah, it needs to stop. It needs to stop. Now, looking on the other end of the stick. Insensitive people. Insensitivity. Those people who are insensitive. You are not doing any better so far as justice or making things better. So let's say someone comes up to you and has a real issue they want to bring to your attention. And you ignore it, shrug it off, don't pay attention to it. Because you just don't want to deal with it, that can kind of, spark some issues. Sure, it's not your responsibility, per se, to counsel someone. But it's not even considered that maybe you listening to this person can help them and help them, be able to calm down and release some stress and be able to refocus and just feel better because they have someone there that will listen to them. That's kind of ignorant. And that can cause problems. It's like you don't have to, but why wouldn't you want to help someone out? Because it's socialism? That's not what socialism is. I believe everybody needs to help each other. Socialism is just taking something that's fair, right, and then making it their own without justification and earning, the rights to, or the profit or the rewards to certain things. For instance, if I get paid, in my fair share of work, and then someone wants to take some of that pay out because they screwed up, with something, and they need to pay off to make up for the mistake by paying something off. Then and they take the money away. That's kind of like socialism. But it's just the fact that you have an opportunity to help someone out, and to know that there might be if someone hasn't helped you out before, which I find it very hard that there's not many people who haven't helped someone out, because I think there's people out there who needed help at some point in time in their life from someone. Okay. So I think it's kind of like hypocritical. But let's just say if you think you're perfect, and you haven't screwed up, or when you screwed up, you never ask for help from anybody, okay? If you think that you've gone pretty flawless with that, then, in the future that may happen though. And there might come a time when you need to rely on some help from others. And you need to receive some help from others. and you need to ask for it, and you want someone to be there to help you, right? So why wouldn't you do that to someone else? Why wouldn't you help someone else to know that possibility? It's hypocritical and it's douchey. So also be mindful what you say. Some words can hurt people. It's like, yeah, you can't please everybody. I get it. You can't please everybody or melancholy everything, because you got to tell it how it is. Like I said earlier, moments ago, I believe that that's the best way. My folks believe in the same thing. You got to tell it how it is. But you got to refrain from saying certain things. There's certain things that you need to hold back from saying. Because just lashing it out is just going to be, or just, saying whatever you want and not being mindful of people's feelings could stir up a lot of issues. And you wouldn't want the same thing happening to you, so why would you do it to someone else? It's very hypocritical to be insensitive. And I think that, having a product by the name Aunt Jemima, or even talking about Aunt Jemima, or talking about anything that could be, peak a little bit of racial controversy. Okay, should that be something that people get oversensitive about? No. But I mean, if someone's saying derogatory names or derogatory words, then that becomes a different story. Being insensitive to people being abused and people being, harmed is kind of like, it's just wrong. It's just wrong. You got to be able to help people out and back people up and refrain from saying things and adding fuel to the fire. And I understand everybody has their own philosophy, and that's the tricky part. Everybody has their own philosophy and beliefs on what's sensitive and what's not sensitive, what's appropriate and what's not inappropriate. Some people can talk about slavery and what happened during slavery, but to some people, it's not okay. Who's right? Who's more in the right? Because you grew up tougher and being tough, that you're automatically in the right, or someone grew up more sensitive and with more abuse, they're more in the right? I mean, it all depends on each other's philosophy, and if we can respect each other's philosophy, if we can come to understand each other's philosophy, respect it, and here's something I'm going to say that will blow my mind if I ever witness it, that would be huge progress and amazing, and I would love and adore. If not only we understood each other's philosophy and culture and background, and we talked about it and considered it, but we also came up with something called, I don't want to push anybody off the chair here, but called a compromise. Ooh, what's that? Compromise. Remember that word? Compromise? It's been, I think, eons since I've witnessed anything legitimately compromised these days, so I think that would really make true progress. You should try it. It helps. It's actually something that works. Yeah. What it is that one party stops being ignorant and starts catering to other person's feelings and needs, and then that other person does the same thing for that other for the other, and they come up with something that they both agree on and something they both can set well on and do the yin with the yang with the yin, and come together on something that and make that decision. That is called compromise. That's what compromising is. It's not, there's another version of compromising, the definition where you jeopardize something, put something in jeopardy. When the mission's been compromised, this has been compromised, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about coming to a mutual agreement and mutual actions. Compromising is very essential to problem solving, to making sure things go well and smooth, and to respecting one another. It's something that I haven't seen, and I think many people in my generation haven't seen in quite some time, especially in politics, where that barely exists. That exists just a very tiny amount than what it used to when things were going much smoother. So it's like I said, compromising could be revealing, like I said, defined as revealing an embarrassing or incriminating secret about someone. But compromising can also be coming together and sharing the same solution or a similar solution, that's something you guys, both parties can agree upon. So when it comes to sensitivity and insensitivity, that needs to happen. There needs to be met at the middle. You can't be extreme about it. Being ignorant about it and being overly sensitive and causing issues is just going to cause more issues in society, cause more problems, and make it stressful for everybody. You want a solution? These are the answers, people. You could either take them or just shoo them away and be ignorant and want the problems to continue to circulate and deny the credibility of them. But you do your research, do your factual research, you understand that these words are true. These are your answers, people. The ball is in your court. You choose to follow them and do what's right. Because if you don't want to, stop complaining. That is that. That is that. And that, my friends, is the end of that segment, end of this segment, end of the 2 societal topics on my choice. And we have reached the end of the episode. That is the end of the episode. That's right. We have reached the end of the episode. I want to thank IPM Nation's president and CEO, Matt Carnerton, for giving us a spot. And I want to thank all of you listeners for tuning in. Please be sure to tune in to next week's episode, episode 47, where I'll talk more headlines about what's going on with the with this terrorist act happening. Probably pick apart the former guy again, find out what else is going on in the Biden administration and with the vaccines and such. Also, of course, more updates on COVID-19, the vaccinations, a new headhunt segment, and 2 more societal topics of my choice. That'll be episode 47, which will air or be available for download a week from today, Sunday, January 23rd, 2022 at 10 a.m. here on IPMNation.com. Also, don't forget to check out Matt Carnerton's Matt Carnerton Unleashed, weekdays at 4 p.m. on 95.3 WMNH, the Matt Carnerton Facebook Live page, and here on IPMNation.com. All right, on behalf of Courtesy Call Podcast, I am your host, Scott Perry. Be kind, be mindful, and do your part. Take care. Go Buccaneers. Have a good week. Bye-bye.